After a number of years serving in the Marine Corps, it was my observation that there are generally three types of leaders. One is the leader who will walk in and say to those that he leads, the assembled group, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're going to do. Let's get with it." If someone is brave enough to question it, if they think that maybe this is not the right decision, they are put down very quickly, and no one else has the courage to do that in the future. They know in this organization that you're not supposed to speak back. New ideas, outside ideas are not welcome. Very unhealthy climate. People generally do not like to work for those kind of leaders. And these leaders, in my observation, are not as successful as they might imagine in their own minds. There's a second type leader, the one who walks in and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity or we have a problem. I would like to hear your thoughts," and truly engages in a rich discussion for some period of time. Problem with this leader is the discourse or discussion never seems to end, and it goes on. It's almost like a fraternity discussion late at night. You reach no conclusions. If by chance you do reach a conclusion, it's open for further discussion the next morning. At first, people like this sort of a leader, but then they become very frustrated, probably even more frustrated than the demanding my way or no way type approach. Obviously, the type leader we're looking for doesn't represent either of those. It's the leader who walks in and says, again, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity, we have a problem, I want to hear your thoughts on this." Truly wants to hear what other people say. As the discussion proceeds, people's minds are enriched with the varying viewpoints. Either the solution will become obvious to all, or at the time the decision absolutely has to be made, or there's no more time available, that leader will make a decision. Even those whose ideas were not incorporated are very willing to work for that person because they know they had a fair hearing. They understand the rationale that he or she has behind the decision, even if they may not agree with it. Those sorts of organizations are the ones that are more successful. There's a positive leadership climate, and generally that sort of leader has a following. If he moves up or someplace else, there are many who want to follow, work for him again. Unfortunately, my experience has been there are too many leaders in varying fields that don't truly want to listen to what subordinates or peers have to say. In fact, again, unfortunately, they look upon it as a sign of weakness. Strong leaders, those who are sure of themselves, very confident, are the ones who have no problem listening to the ideas and advice of others. They are so confident in their own abilities that they're strengthened by this. And those are sort of leaders that I think we need to create or find. Those who are the best leaders I've ever known never stop learning. Whenever they are in any situation, they are learning not only about that particular problem, they're learning how to be better leaders. They never assume that they know it all or that they've reached some pinnacle. They're the ones that want to have this input from other people. They're continually looking for good examples, and at the same time they're mentoring those under them to be good leaders in the future. In most professions, there's a point, and I would say generally after 5, maybe 8 years in that profession, where you have risen to a point that you literally cannot do everything yourself. Now, because you've been successful in handling problems yourself, there's a tendency to want to continue to do that. And almost a perverse sense of pride. I can handle it. I don't need help. Might even call it some sort of a misperceived idea of bravery, of courage. Not the case. The real courage is to say, I need help. Invite others in to help you solve these problems, share with them, and move forward. Leaders who do not reach that point where they recognize they need help will crash and burn. They will be at a point where their careers are short-circuited, terminated, and they often wonder why. This I use sometimes, and maybe it's too strained, but let me try it.
No.
I was told years ago by a retired Air Force officer by the name of John Boyd that if you did not understand the second law of thermodynamics, you would not be a successful leader. Now, my education was as a historian. I wasn't sure what thermodynamics was, did not know the first law, so I certainly did not know the second law. And of course, for those who are familiar with it, the second law of thermodynamics says that any closed system which has no input from other external systems will tend towards entropy, in other words, chaos. And what he was really saying to me was that if I, as a Marine Corps officer, did not reach out to other fields, do things other than that directly related to the Marine Corps, I would be good at the skill craft, probably as a lieutenant and captain. But as I became more senior, a major lieutenant colonel, and I had no outside information, experiences to tackle new and unique problems, I would use the old skill craft, not be successful, and short circuit the ability I had to move forward. This idea of not being focused inward on what you know best has been called casting your net widely. When I'm talking to younger folks, I tell them, cast your net widely. Do things that might be unexpected in your particular line of work. Go to the opera. When you're in foreign countries, ensure you get out among the people, learn those cultures. Read something from the science field if you're not familiar with the science. Broaden your horizons. You will have much more to offer yourself and those that employ you. My experience has been in every environment I've been in, education and training is undervalued. I often said to those that served under me that in the case of the Marine Corps, the only thing that was worthwhile doing was either being in contact with the enemy, if the nation called you to do so, moving to contact, that is, moving forward to where you needed to be, or you should be involved in training and education. In other words, training and education should permeate what you do, not just be adjunct or an afterthought. My observations, business, industry, government, academia, military, is that education of those who are in those organizations, work in those organizations, is too often given short shrift. Any leader inherently understands that he or she must assign tasks to those that work for them, either organizations that are under them or individuals that work for them. What all too many fail to realize is that when you provide that task, there's an obligation to explain why that task is important. What is the intent? What is the purpose? Furthermore, you need to understand that the intent or purpose is always more important than the task. Those who are given the task and the purpose, and understand the purpose rises above the task, when they're unable to perform the task for whatever reason, can step back and say, but I can accomplish the superior's intent or purpose with a different task. This is what empowers an organization. What scientists have told us is any organization that understands the task, understands the purpose, and receives feedback will self-organize. What modern organizations that are in command and out of control should try to do is ensure the task is understood, more importantly, what is the purpose behind the task, and they will find at the very fringes of the organization, people feel self-empowered and are doing things that are beneficial to the overall organization without ever being controlled in a sense that some sort of lever manipulates them. I don't have much truck for all the literature, these how-to type things with list of things you're supposed to do, principles, steps, etc. To me, it's much simpler. You ought to have some vision of where you want the organization to be in the future. It ought to be a mental image of what you want. It's a schema in your mind as to what you want the organization to be. You ought to have some very clear objectives that will allow you to achieve that vision, and then assign tasks with the associated intent or purpose for those who are going to move forward. Much more than that, all it does is obscures what you're trying to do. What I find, again, in almost all fields, whether it's government, whether it's the military, whether it's in university, whether it's in business and industry, is a desire to coin slogans that are somehow supposed to guide us. most of these slogans are vacuous. Many of them are meaningless. As a nation, unfortunately, we've lost our ability to speak clear, simple English. A simple noun, a simple verb. We fill our written documents, we fill our conversation with adjectives that are meaningless, all in this misguided idea that somehow this embellishment will lead to some success. Clear, simple, concise English is the answer. In my experience when I was on active duty, but even more so in the 10 years since I've been retired, I've come to the conclusion that far too many leaders focus on technology. They focus on organizational structure and miss the most important part of any business industry, and that is the people. They look at the people too often as simply a resource for the organization. What I urge all leaders to do is when you look at these people, think of them figuratively, but really as you think of your own family, as if they were your children. If you can't look at people and have the respect for them that you would have, and the love for them in a very real sense that you would have for your own children, then I'm not sure that you're the kind of leader that I would want in any organization I belong to. When I evaluate a person, I look at their character. And of course, character has a formal definition. We all have ideas of what character might mean. But in my mind, I keep it a little more simple. I say character indicates your fitness for life, your fitness for particular jobs, fitness for certain professions. And of course, when you talk to former Marines, you think of physical fitness. And I advocate physical fitness. If you don't keep your body in shape, it's going to have an adverse impact on your overall quality of life. Equally important is what I call mental fitness. That is not to let your mind atrophy any more than you would your body. It requires reading. It requires experience. Don't isolate yourself. As I've indicated, cast your net widely. Do new and unusual things to keep that mind active and fit. Certainly, all of us would advocate being morally fit, doing what is right, being ethically fit. That's at the top. What sometimes we underplay is being spiritually fit. I don't mean in the sense of advocating any religion, but it's part and parcel of what humans are. So the character in my mind is physically, mentally, morally, and spiritually fit. And that'll enable you to perform in almost any profession, any business.
Hi there and welcome. My name is Matt. I am Curriculum Support and Development Officer, and this Development Strand workshop is Leadership and Management Styles. In this workshop we'll be looking at the importance of knowing the different leadership and management styles, and we'll also be looking at Kurt Lewin's model of leadership and management styles as discussed by the ILM. And if you want to know more about Kurt Lewin's model of leadership and management styles, and there's a link there for you to follow up on. So, why is it important to know the different leadership and management styles? Firstly, it's important because to become an effective leader or manager, you need to be able to use all three styles. The styles are not categorised in isolation from one another, but rather they should be considered as groups across a spectrum that you can move between and use a mixture of. Secondly, it's important because different situations require the use of different styles, or perhaps even a combination of styles. For instance, the style you use may depend on the urgency or importance of the task. And thirdly, it's important to know each style because certain teams and individuals may require the use of different styles. Different groups and people respond differently to different methods of leadership, and in order to achieve results you may require a particular style or a combination of styles. So let's look at Lewin's model of leadership and management styles, which considers them as three types. The first of these is authoritarian or autocratic. This style involves the leader or manager instructing the team. The leader provides clear objectives and methods so that the team knows what to do, how to do it, and when to do it by. The leader doesn't ask for advice or participation in the decision-making process. He or she has sole autonomy over the team's objectives and is fully responsible for all results. This style is an efficient and rigorous method where stringent guidelines are needed for fast results. You should use this style when there's a lack of time, such as in an emergency or close to a deadline, when you're in full possession of the relevant information, when you have more knowledge and experience on the matter than the team, and when your team is well motivated without feeling the need to be part of the decision-making process. The second leadership and management style is participative or democratic. This style involves the leader inviting the participation and contribution of team members to help make decisions and solve problems, drawing on the strengths, skills and expertise of the individuals in the team. The leader still sets the scene for the discussion, providing the bigger picture before inviting the participation, and has final say on any decisions. He or she also has to effectively resolve differences of opinion between individuals in the team. Because the team is involved in the decision-making process, they feel more committed to completing the objectives that they have helped to form, which increases their motivation. By having their opinions asked for, they feel respected by the leader and thus are more ready to follow him or her. This style takes more time than the others due to the length of the process of getting the whole team involved and listening to their opinions and suggestions. However, the upside to this style is that it's more detailed and the team forms better quality strategies because you're drawing on the expertise and experience of the entire team, of each individual. You should use this style when neither you as the leader nor any one individual in the team has all the relevant information you need to form a strategy, when the relevant skills and experiences are spread across the team, when the quality of the project outcome is important, and when you're less restricted by time constraints. Lewin's third and final leadership style is hands-off or delegative. This style involves the leader delegating the responsibility of the task to the individuals in the team, telling them their objectives but giving them the freedom to decide how to meet them and leaving them to get on with it. This does not mean that the leader can blame the individuals if anything goes wrong. However, he or she should still assume ultimate responsibility for the decisions of the team and the outcome of the project. In order for this style to work correctly, the leader needs to be able to communicate with employees if they need advice, coaching or consultation. Thus, an open door policy is necessary for the leader to have when using this style. And because of the risks involved with this leadership style, the leader needs to be able to trust his team. The team members may mistake or misunderstand instructions, or may procrastinate and underperform. The leader needs to be sure that the team has understood his or her instructions and that each individual performs to the best of their ability during the course of the project. You should use this style when there is a heavy workload which a leader cannot complete alone and needs to delegate across the team, when more information is required to complete a task and the team can provide that information, and when the team has more or sufficient knowledge and experience on the matter and can do a more thorough and detailed job. So in this workshop we've looked at the importance of knowing the different leadership and management styles, and we've also looked at Kurt Lewin's model of leadership and management styles as discussed by the ILM. What you can do now is engage with the other materials in the leadership or management development strand workspace. Think about how you can use each of the three leadership and management styles, and complete reflection for your CUSP on leadership, which is an ILM accreditable topic. Thank you for watching.